Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. This episode is brought to you by Arctic Food Equipment. If you're driving up and down Highway 65 south of Branson down into Arkansas, near Omaha, Arkansas, if you're not careful, you'll pass it. And you're going to wish you didn't pass it. Lilliehobbs, am I saying this right? Lilliehobbs Bakery and Mercantile?
Mm-hmm. Mercantile and Bakery, yep. We do a lot of everything homemade. So yeah, if you want something homemade, you're going to get it here.
So I'm talking to Kelly Lindberg. She started this place and built this building, and it is as charming as anything you will find in the Ozarks and as delicious. And I want to hear the whole backstory. You're from around here.
Yeah, born and raised here. My family and all the pictures that you see on the building is my family from just a few miles around here. They grew up on a dirt road just right up the hill called Tower Road, and so that's where my family is from. And so my Uncle Bob, after Vietnam, and it's kind of a long story, he rented the little old house that used to sit on this property. And if you grew up here, in our day of growing up here, along the old 65 highway, which is right out here in front of me, they had lots of fruit stands and rock shops. And so I loved that mentality of, my grandfather had huge watermelon pastures along Long Creek that he sold watermelons on the side of the road here. And so we grew up with our area here being local farmers, local little, you still can drive the old highway and still see those little fruit stands that used to be here. Across the street is one of them where the little old fruit stand is still there. And so I just always knew from little on that I would be right here where I am. And as a matter of fact, my friend Michelle of 50 some odd years, more years than we'd like to talk about now, the first time that we got to stand on the platform of the building, she's like, my God, you've been here forever. I told every friend, anytime we'd pass it by it, that this is exactly where I would be. And so that's how I got started.
Did you know exactly what you wanted to put here?
I did. I knew. I was always a local artist. I started right out of high school being a local artist, and I worked out of Branson at the old Engler's block for years and years for Mary Bowman at Peter Engler Design. And so, but the food is definitely our culture here. Like, I was raised by amazing cooks and amazing bakers. And so my mother was, if she wasn't feeding you, she was worried about you. And so I would tell my sons as they were growing up, you just had supper, don't let Nana feed you. They would come back, they're full as ticks, and I'm like, what happened? They said, well, she had to make us breakfast. I'm like, you just had dinner. And so we come from that culture here of definitely feeding people, a great cup of coffee, that kind of thing. So it's just how I was raised. So food came naturally, actually.
Well, there's nothing like a good plate of food, especially down home in Arkansas. I'm from here too. I grew up in Russellville, and the menu here, which I'm going to get into, is just down home good, but very forward thinking at the same time, but some good old Southern, staples. Were you a baker first? What really got you in the kitchen, and who taught you to cook?
So the pictures that you see of my grandmother, who's behind you, that's my grandma Florence, who was from the South. She was actually Cajun. She comes from a Cajun. So when my grandmother married my grandfather, he met her heading to Germany is where he met her from. And with her, she brought up the spices that she was raised on, and she was an amazing cook. My granny Fanny, who's the little girl in the other picture, my grandmother Fanny was an amazing baker, horrible cook. And so, horrible. Yes, she just, but beautiful baker. And so I had a nice twist of both. But actually, when I was young, I traveled Europe, and I still go back to Europe. So a lot of times I'll come back. That's why there is a little tweak to everything, is because of my travels. Also, it kind of made my palate broaden past where I started.
What is your favorite thing to make? Are you in the kitchen every day, or do you have extra help? I know you have extra help doing that, but what's your jam?
So my jam is going to be definitely because of my palate, and I know that sounds strange. I have an amazing crew here that gets who I am, and it has taken years for us to for them to really get what I'm going for here. The general rule of my kitchen is they know once we set that recipe, we never change it, because you're going to come back a year from now and you want that same experience that you had. So that's the crucial part of being in business and building a business like we have, is never compromising that. As far as me, though, Heather had got pictures of me a couple of months ago, or well, actually it's probably a month ago. A baker called in sick, and I had to go back in the back, and I was the baker that morning, and she said, "Oh, the old goat's back in the bakery," and got pictures of me baking. And so, but I mean, I love to cook, but really, I think my talent is my palate.
Which is?
So I'm that type of person that you can say, hey, what is in here? And I can usually tell you what's in things. But palates don't come easy. And I mean that in a very wholesome way, is that people have kind of got away from homemade food. They forget that there's so many layers of something that is homemade, which is usually very simple ingredients. There's not a lot of extra fluff in anything. And so by us doing that, it's kind of fun watching people when they take their first bite, because you see their eyes kind of brighten up and like, what is that? Well, they're tasting something that's homemade, and they just don't get that very often. And so my talent, I think, is my palate.
So I see all sorts of things on your menu, like biscuits and gravy, good old Southern.
Yeah.
Are you the biscuit person?
So you do not want me to make your biscuits, because they are beautiful today and hockey pucks tomorrow. And I am not a bread person. I love bread, don't get me wrong, but you do not want to have me in the bakery. I can make all your pie crust. I can do homemade meringues and all that. But the bread, I'm going to leave to the girls in the back who've got it way better than I do. And so, yeah, it can go horribly wrong every other day for me in bread.
Did you say when you opened?
We opened in 2016. We'll turn 9 years old this year, and so still growing, which I think is amazing in our business to keep growing. A lot of restaurants will kind of open up and then they start. I say dumbing it down, but it's expensive to do a restaurant. You have to be very close in your markups. You got to watch everything you do. And so, and there's times where I'm going to be a little more expensive than most, because I won't compromise on an ingredient. I want you to have really good qualities of meats. I want it to be homemade. So we're more labor intensive than we are food cost. And so I'm paying a lot more labor because we are, doing that. And so the key is that I will not change for anyone. I'm not going to serve you any differently than I'm going to serve you at my own home.
Wow. It sounds like you are very close to your staff, who you really think the world of.
That there is no way I can do this without them. They're incredible, and they know that I appreciate them very much. We all give each other a hard time, but I cannot do it without them, and I can't do it without their trust of me, knowing that I'm going to always be there for them, and my trust of them being able to take a day off and know that they've got it just like if I was here. That's really important, that I can leave here for a day, and I know they're going to run it just like I would.
That's what I think every restaurateur can only dream of, is to be able to leave and not worry that something is going to go wrong, something's going to blow up, something's going to go weird. You mentioned expanding, and while we're on the subject, let's just talk about that. You have plans for the future down around Harrison.
We do. Our downtown square in Harrison is a beautiful courthouse square that you circled, and we grew up in our hometown circling that square. And so, like many places in the U.S., the downtown areas are just needing help. And so I first took 1915 down there. It's a cafe and bakery that my son Ryan runs and is doing amazing down there. But I crave really good food, and I'm very artistic in wanting to start something again. And so, as my mother said the first day that I opened, she said, "What's next?" And there usually is something what next with me. And so my plans down there is I bought a historical building. I want to make it just a great place to go have a great meal and a drink, and something that we are missing, I feel, in our area.
What can you describe what you're thinking is missing?
Oh, I don't want to give away the good secrets. Okay. So
Oh, I don't want you to give away anything you really can't. But and I just was curious if you
Yeah.
could give us a hint.
So I'll start with that menu. It'll take me a year to do the menu. It's the same for here. I worked on Lilliehobbs menu for a year before I came in to really get started. I practiced all the recipes and we did all that. And so I want it to be just a really nice steakhouse. So I'll work on a lot of like maybe a tweak to a scalloped potato. And I don't care to be like everybody else. I never have, but I would like to give you something of home with a twist.
Oh, I'm intrigued. And there's so much. Harrison does have a lovely square, and it seems like it's growing and there are more events and things, right?
Well, they have the Creekside venue, which is downtown, and it's starting to pull people. And I've noticed that when I drive by at home at night, their parking lot is getting fuller and fuller, which we love that. You know, a lot of the growth in Harrison comes north, and so we're really happy to see that settled in our part of town, just because we need it. I made a map of the downtown area for downtown. There's over 100 and some odd small businesses in Harrison, Arkansas that people have no idea is right around the square. And so for us to be around the square, I mean, I'm proud. I'm an Arkansas girl, born and raised, and it's just a way for us to bring a little bit more of us to that square. The Harrison Square needs it. All the squares in the U.S. are just, they need help, and I'm ready to step up and try to make it for them. So.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's great news for everyone to hear. We're technically where we are now at Lilliehobbs we're an Omaha address. Is that correct?
We're an Omaha address, but if you're a local, we're going to tell you that this is the Burlington area. And so if you go back a little bit of history, then you have Jesse James that lived in this area for a little short time while he was here. I think this was one of the last places he lived before he went north and then was killed. And so the county seat, I do believe, used to be in the down. One of the pictures of my grandfather here was at the county seat, which is just down the hill here. But it is to me always going to be Burlington, but for an address you're going to look up Omaha.
Okay, good to know. Like I said though, when you're heading south or north, just not terribly far from the Missouri line, be watching.
9 miles north of Harrison, and I'm 9 miles just over the state line of Arkansas.
When did you realize, when you opened the doors in 2016, when did you start to really realize, yep, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I've accomplished what I wanted. Was it the feedback from people?
Well, the funniest feedback is to this day, I have people that say, why would you build in the middle of nowhere? And I always giggle because, you know, the highway is right here and the destination is past me, either coming and going. If you're going north or south, you're on this highway. So it sounds weird, but I just knew it. I could feel it. I knew it was going to be just fine whenever I opened the doors. And as a matter of fact, I didn't get open until Black Friday. I was supposed to get open that summer of 16, but a water line issue set us back. And so the scariest part was say that I only had 2 months before the end of the year, and then we'd be dead of winter. But you know, the door kept opening and people kept coming in, and once I get you in here, I've got you right where I want you, and I'll see you or I'll see your family. And you know, like I said before, when people come in and they bring a friend that's visiting town, it's a huge compliment to me when you bring your family and friends to see us. That's huge.
It is huge. My brother and sister-in-law live in Little Rock, and they come up to visit. And they will come in with a big box from Lilliehobbs with cinnamon rolls and cookies and goodies. And my good friend Mandy, who lives in Little Rock, also says every time she comes back and forth, they always stop here. I wonder how many people realize there's more to this than just a restaurant and bakery.
Well, I'm always going to be that local artist. And so with me always, I love to support local artists. We have lots and lots of local artists like jewelry and woodworking in the shop. I do import it, but it has to be very unique. Like I said, I don't care to be like everybody else. But I mean, we have lots of unique gifts, and I try to find you something that you're not seeing everywhere else.
So I look back there and I see all sorts of everything from crafts to woodwork pieces, candles, like you said, jewelry. things like that. It's just one of these places that you could walk around and find your new obsession, I think. And then on the next trip, there's no telling what else you might find that's different than that, right?
If you just walk it backwards, and you're going to find something else that you didn't see the whole first time. And so, yeah, that is really our goal, is to give you something unique in our area. I mean, I'm the first thing you come to really in Arkansas, and we get a lot of Branson tourism that comes in just because they want to see what Arkansas is like. And so I love that we're the first look of what Arkansas is like. I love that part of us.
I think that is very unique. It really is. Where is the furthest point that you can think of someone coming from off the top of your head?
So we have a South African family that comes here every year in the fall, and they are like family to us. They've came for years. They visit us and are here every single year to say hello to us. We love them. But a funny thing that I get a lot is that I have someone that says, hey, my neighbor sent me, and I'm like, oh, that's great. And I think like Ozark or Harrison. Well, they're like California or they're Texas, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And so I hear that a lot, and it's never where I think it is. It's always way further away when they say a neighbor sent me. And so, but I'd say right now South Africa is one of is a regular to us, and they're like family when they come in.
I wonder why those folks come to visit the Ozarks every year. I'm glad they do.
Well, they go to Big Cedar, they stay there, they meet family there, and we get a lot of Big Cedar people that come through that are heading there to stay. They'll take stuff for their cabins, and so we love that we're in the middle of heading to somewhere. And so they're a big part of also of us growing, is because they are our neighbor, and we send people there, they send people to us. And I mean, it's just super kind. We're close neighbors, I'd say.
Well, there's just something wonderful and neighborly and friendly about this part of the world, which is why it really is a privilege to live in the Ozarks, I will say.
For over 30 years, Arctic Food Equipment has proudly served the backbone of America's restaurant industry, right here in the heart of Springfield, Missouri. We're not just a supply house, we're your partner. From kitchens large to small, we build value-based relationships, always exceeding expectations with quality products and expert support. Trusted, reliable, American-made values. That's Arctic Food Equipment. Together, we help build the taste of our nation. Stop by or call today, Arctic Food Equipment. We're working hard so your kitchen can too. The tools you trust, the partner you deserve.
Okay, so let's see. I wanted to talk about your menu. I think it is today you've got the Frito pie.
We do the Frito pie. We do a roasted corn blend on it, and then also some fresh jalapenos, not the pickled stuff. We like a fresh jalapeno here. And so it is totally made from scratch, from the sauce, the meats, everything is made in-house. The only thing I didn't make for them is the chips, and my staff would kill me if I started having them make the chips. But yeah, that is our special today. Last week we had a really neat one. It was a cheesy tomato turnover, and we served it with a cup of soup. So we're always, sometimes I have a Julia Child recipe. I want to do beef bourguignon, or we may do duck or something. You can just never tell. It's kind of what we're craving is our special. And so, yeah, that's how we do it.
Well, looking back through the menu, or I'm sorry, the social media, I see photos and I think, oh my goodness, every single day is a new adventure here. And like you said, I guess you let your palate sort of call the shots.
Yeah, we do.
But Frito pie and a cheese dip, so you make your own sort of like a cheese dip or queso.
So that cheese dip actually came from a childhood place in Harrison called Taco Hut that a local gentleman had for years and years. And my friend Lori worked there for years, and she's like, do you want the cheese dip recipe? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we would love to have his recipe. So that is actually from one of our childhood stomping places in Harrison, from Taco Hut. And I cannot remember his name right now. I'm totally blanking. But so the cheese dip is actually his recipe from our childhood at Taco Hut.
And not just your childhood, but all sorts of people that are listening right now or will say, oh my gosh, I can get the Taco Hut cheese dip. Yeah. Do you have any other things in the menu that would be a nostalgic thing for people who grew up around here?
Oh my gosh, fried bologna. And so I got so many people at first was like, you would do fried bologna? I'm like, girl, I'm born and raised here. I mean, we put bologna on everything. So our fried bologna is a beautiful beef bologna. It has a homemade house sauce that one of my cooks that worked for me for years, who is an amazing chef, Jim, came up with a sauce, and it was beautiful. And so we kept that sauce. We're like, we love the sauce. So it is a beautiful fried bologna with house sauce and pickles. It's fantastic. Of course, our meatloaf sandwich is amazing. I mean, we make homemade meatloaf. And one of my dearest friends, one of my favorite things on our menu is confit confetti potato salad. And Carol, whenever I first opened, I asked her for permission to use her confetti potato salad, and it's a fantastic potato salad. So that's my friend Carol's recipe.
Okay, I got a couple of things I got to ask about here. What makes it confetti?
So there is sweet peppers in it. So you have red and yellow sweet peppers, a little bit of green onion, and then the sauce, which is made in-house to do that. We don't open any kind of pre-mixes. I mean, it is mayonnaises, it's red wine vinegars, it's things like that. And so when you come here and we say it's made from scratch, we truly mean that. We're making everything except for the mayonnaise, which I've threatened to make because it's so easy, but the girls said they would kill me if I make the mayonnaise.
Well, you've got to have a little bit wiggle room here in terms of time. What's the house sauce?
Oh, it's a little bit sweet and a little bit spicy, and it just makes that fried bologna. Like, I have a guy that drives from Fayetteville every other week to have a fried bologna, and a Tulsa man that they come over at least once a month, and that's what he comes for, is a fried bologna sandwich. I know, it's fried bologna. I love it, but that's our childhood here.
Well, it is, and I always loved bologna. I cannot remember the last time I had bologna, and I really like it, but when you fry it, it's a whole new level.
It is. The one gentleman that comes over from Fayetteville, the very first time that he had it, right before he left, his wife said, well, I guess I'm going to have to go home and buy some bologna now. And I said, exactly, you're going to go home and buy some bologna now. She goes, it's been a long time. I said, it has.
Do you sell any of your sauces, like your house sauce?
I don't. One of these days that might be something we go into, but I'm not a big preservative person, and when we get into bottling and stuff like that, then we're talking about that kind of thing. And so, not yet. I get asked daily about that, and so it's just worth making the drive and having it now.
I would agree with that. All right, so you mentioned the fried bologna. I'm seeing a Hawaiian fried spam. A Hawaiian fried spam. Was that a sandwich?
That was a special we had a couple of weeks ago, and it was whatever it popped in our mind, but that's what Heather and I decided we were going to do for special. Heather is my main cook and my main kitchen manager, and I'm like, let's give a little nod to Hawaii, and she's like, let's do it. And so we just started working with the recipe. We started specials on Thursdays, and Heather will start on them on Wednesday. We'll try them, we critique them, and then they're ready for Thursday.
So you don't necessarily post about what's coming up until day of?
Exactly, because if we got to tweak it, or if it's a no, or I got to really go back to work at it, I'm okay with that. I'd rather give you something that is just spot on than to wing it.
Well, I know spam is very much a beloved thing in Hawaii, which is kind of unusual, but it is. How did you trick it out to make it more Hawaiian?
So we made a special tangy sweet sriracha sauce that went on it, and so you have a little bit of that sweet, you have that tang from the pineapple. We grill it really nicely, and so had a beefsteak tomato slice on it, so it just kind of elevates it. It's something that we didn't have often as a kid, but it was kind of a special kind of thing. We also just had an amazing salmon patty sandwich, which was my mother's recipe. So we kind of think outside of the box for our specials.
Okay, I don't know what made me think of this other than my Arkansas upbringing. Have you ever tried anything with the Vienna sausage, or Viennes, as we used to call them?
So a man the other day, when he got this that's exactly what he said. He said, you need to do that. And he said, because you had them too. And I said, yes, we had them too. And so I have not. I will have to really think on that one. I will figure out something for a Vienna sausage.
Those were kind of a staple when you'd go out on the boat and go water skiing. You'd pop open a can of those, and they were just so good back in there. But it's been 30 years since I've had one, but they were good.
I'll have to figure out something for you for that. Heather's going to kill us, by the way, and say, really? Now we're working on this. But that's your childhood, and I love that whenever you have a salmon patty sandwich, or you have spam or bologna, it reminds you of your childhood. We sell all of our pie crust. When we're making pie crust for our quiches or for our pies, we take all of that and put sugar and cinnamon and butter on it, and we sell that by the bag. And I hear all day long of people every age that reminds me of my mother, that reminds me of my grandmother, and I love that nostalgia, because that's the parts that you remember. It's the nostalgic part of it. It just is.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Okay, I wrote this whole thing down because it intrigued the heck out of me. Footlong dog loaded with mac and cheese, hog sauce, sweet and crunchy noodle salad on the side. All right, let's back up to the footlong dog with the mac and cheese.
Yes.
I mean, that just sounds like heaven to me. Are you kind of known for your mac and cheese, and you thought, oh, we'll dress up a hot dog with it?
So, sometimes you just can't have just a plain old hot dog. And so our loaded mac and cheese is one of our favorite sides here. Lots of people get our loaded mac and cheese. We also have our barbecue sauce that we put on our pulled pork is made locally by a gentleman here. Roy Cisco is his name. His niece is one of my best friends from school. And Roy Lynn's hog sauce is amazing barbecue sauce. And so we use that in-house, and we sell it also here in the store. And so it was just a good combination. Like I said, there is no science to our cravings. It's just what we're craving. If it's hot and it's summery, we're like, let's do a hot dog. So yeah, no rhyme or reason, just whatever someone says, hey, can we do this?
Well, I like the way you crave. I'll put it that way. Tell me about the sweet and crunchy noodle salad. Now, you've got me there because of the texture. I'm a big texture person.
So it's actually a ramen noodle salad that has the mandarin oranges, and it has a homemade sauce on it that is not a store-bought sauce, and so we love that. My friend Judy Reed is the one who gave me that recipe, and if I taste something and I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of neat, then I'll just ask, hey, can I use it in the store? And of course, sometimes I have to do some trading on the secret with other cooks, but they would never give away my secrets. But yeah, so it was just a nice crunch, and sometimes it's not. The palate is really important. You don't want just mush, mush, mush. You need a little bit of bite or crunch or something to it. Yeah, always. I'm always for a crunch, a little bit. And my sister made a homemade peanut butter bread for me to try the other day, and she goes, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, I need some crunch in it. And she's like, oh, okay. And I said, I'm going to probably work on it. And she said, that's fine.
I love texture. Yeah. I just love a good crunch in anything. Now, when you come in here to have breakfast or what have you, you've got all sorts of array of things for breakfast. But you do have the good old standard biscuits and gravy. I mean, people around here it wouldn't be pretty if you didn't offer that. Yeah. They would protest, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that we would probably be thrown out there in the highway at some point in time and ran out of town. It is homemade sausage gravy, and which is the easiest thing in the world. And I have so many people that don't make homemade gravy at home. And I'm talking, 2 or 3 ingredients is all you need. And so we had gravy at every meal, whether it was sausage gravy, white gravy, brown gravy, blood gravy. There's a lot of different gravies. Red eye gravy. I mean, we've had all of that. And so, yeah, biscuits and gravy is a huge staple. I'm a big fan, actually, of our breakfast sandwich. And we do our egg over medium because we want that yolk to just go into the mouth. And so, but we also offer the fried bologna for a breakfast sandwich, and it's fantastic, too. I actually, if I had to pick one favorite thing that we do, other than the sausage gravy, I love that, is our breakfast sandwich. Is incredible.
Is that a limited time during the day, or do you have that later in the day as well?
Eggs are at a different temperature on the grill, so we stop all breakfast at 11. We carry biscuits and gravy a little over 11 when we start switching, because our lunch, we just start getting busy and we can't stop and make eggs. And so, but we do breakfast until 11. Most of the time we'll have some biscuits and gravy left that we can do until about 11:30.
What is your number one seller that people come in here for and box it up and take it home or whatever? Is it, I don't know, cinnamon rolls, cookies? The things in your bakery case are just, sublime to look at and certainly to eat.
So food-wise, it's different because we have a women's favorite, we have men's favorite, and then we have an all-time favorite. Our carrot cake is my granny's recipe. It's very old. The carrot cake is probably what we're known for. One of the main things that we're known for, that and the Ponca Trail cookie, which is my creation of my husband working at the Park Service, and also a friend at the time was gluten-free. And so it also gave me a really good gluten-free option that no one realizes that it's.
Describe that.
So it's more of it's an oat base. And so instead of a flour base, it's an oat base, but it has peanut butter and oats and nuts and cranberries and chocolate and a little bit of apricot. It's really our signature cookie that we're known for, that Ponca Trail. But really, I would say our carrot cake is really what we are most known for.
Okay, so the Ponca Trail cookie will give you that energy you need to hike and do what you need to do. So what's the men's favorite? What's the women's?
Ooh, men's is going to be anything from a Reuben to our French dip is incredible. We use prime rib on our French dip. We do a goat cheese on it that's incredible, and then a sweet onion that we caramelize on it. And our homemade au jus is just to die for, and we also turn it once in a while into a French onion soup, which is killer. And so, but women are going to be our chicken salad sandwich, and our turkey bacon mango sandwich is fantastic. But chicken salad, I'd say, my mother used to was very funny. She would come in here and say, "You're not making my chicken salad." And I'm like, "Mom, I like your chicken salad, but yours is a little sweet." But she would always order my chicken salad when she was here. So every time. And so, yeah, that it's kind of, there's so many good ones that, I mean, it's a close tie.
I was looking at the bakery case back there, and I saw some divine key lime treats. It's a cheesecake, a key lime cheesecake. Okay, is that seasonal, or do you have it all year?
So we do seasonal cheesecake. So right now it's going to be the key lime, which that is a homemade key lime custard that's sitting on top of it. We do a beautiful baked cheesecake, and so everyday cheesecakes, we have pecan pie cheesecake, and we always have like a cherry or a chocolate covered cherry. Seasonally, we'll do like a key lime, or we may do a pumpkin, and so that's when we get to play. And then it's the same with like cupcakes and things like that. We'll have everyday stuff, and then we do seasonal on top of that.
So I saw a wonderful looking coconut cream.
My favorite, our white, most white cakes can be very dry. If you take a look at the slices of our white cake, there is layer upon layer of moisture. I love, love, love our white cake. It's one of the best recipes that I have ever came on to. And we tweaked it. I tweak them all. I will say that there's only one recipe in my whole restaurant that I've never tweaked, and that's the topping for the pecan pie cheesecake. And the chef who did that was spot on, dead on. It has a little bourbon in it. It was a beautiful. I couldn't think of anything I would change. And so, generally, when we're doing stuff, I love to go flea marketing and look for the old recipe boxes, and I hold my breath the whole way getting to it. Because those recipes, if they're left in that box, that's the good stuff. That's the old stuff. And this white cake, I do believe, came from a recipe box that was in the flea market, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
What a tip right there, because I do like to pick up old cookbooks, and every now and again you'll see someone has written in it, and you might find a note. So sometimes you go on a little treasure hunt for that.
My sister looks for me. I have friends that look for me. I have one right now that is chock full. It's actually a man's recipe box who loved coconut, which a lot of his recipes, you can see that coconut, you can see where his favorites are, but I have not yet got to go through it, and I'm dying to. So I love those old recipe boxes. I hold my breath the whole time seeing one in a flea market and hope that they're still in there, because that's the good stuff. That's before a lot of added ingredients. That is simple stuff. There's some stuff you're going to have to, look up and say, what the heck is that? Oleo. I had a lady that says, what is oleo? So I'm like, well, it's butter basically. Just think of it as butter or oil. Right. Just go with that. And so that is the good stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are the recipes that are lost, that are going to bring back your palate.
I think you're right. If you see the word oleo, you're onto something really good. I grew up with oleo, Yeah.
My mother always, the sad part of our history, of any history here, is that when they started making white bread in a grocery store, and my mother will say, my mother was so excited to not have to make bread anymore. And I'm like, that's the saddest thing, Mom. And she goes, I know. She said, Mom, but for Mom not having to make bread, she's like, it was the best thing since, that's why they said best thing since sliced bread. And we like to make our own bread. We don't on our sandwiches. It's a beautiful bread that we get for our sandwiches, Rotella, very high-end, very nice stuff. But we make our homemade sourdough every day here, and we do a sourdough class. It's incredible.
I was going to ask about your classes. How often do you do those?
So we do that about once a month. We took a break this month because it's so hot in the kitchen. But when you do our sourdough class, we do like a beautiful, amazing meal with it. So we have a great meal because, there's a lot of rising, there's a lot of waiting. And so in between that, we're giving you a really good first-class meal. Like we've had duck thigh. We've had things that people have never tried, and they're shocked whenever they have them. And so, which we'll save some of those recipes to go to the new steakhouse eventually. Some of those we're tweaking for that. But anyway, so they enjoy. They come here. They get a starter. They have a get out of jail free card with another starter if they need to. They can call us and we will get their starter for them, because it happens. And then they leave with their own bread that they actually did with their own hands. When they leave, they have their hot bread in their hand and the recipe to do it. And they have the best time.
How many are in the class?
So we only do classes of 6. We have a very tiny kitchen, and we want it to be more intimate. And so we have classes of 6, and we'll do them Fridays and Saturday nights. So over the weekend, we'll do about 12 people in the class. And they end up being some of the best friends when they leave. It's so sweet watching these strangers get together and just make bread.
So the get out of jail free thing cracks me up because it happened to me too.
Yes.
I had a friend that gave me some starter and very specific directions, and of course I ruined it. It didn't happen, and I would really like to learn that. Maybe you're the key to that, Kelly.
I may be the key to that, or at least the girls, because like I said, you don't want to see my bread tomorrow, because it will be beautiful today and maybe flat tomorrow. But I have the best bread makers back there to cover you for that. But we will give you a starter, and then you have a card that you can call us and come that will give you a free other starter if you just totally screw things up.
Man, you mentioned people coming from Big Cedar, and I'll be honest, I am at Big Cedar right now. I drove down to interview. You realize I left my microphone in the cabin, turned around and went back and got it. Here I am. It's not a far drive, but that sounds like a weekend to me. Find a weekend when Kelly and staff are going to be doing the cooking classes.
I'll be here for the cooking part of it. You get me with all any stories you want and any kind of stuff that we talk about. But the girls have got it down to a fine science in the back.
I love that idea. And you mentioned you haven't been able to go through that recipe box yet. And is it any wonder when you're open 7 days a week, girlfriend? When do you sleep?
Between 10 and 4, 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. because then my brain starts working. I do take, I kind of joke and say that I'm semi-retired of having 3 days off that I get out of here, which means one's at home doing paperwork. I save 1 day for the love of my life granddaughter. We only have one granddaughter, Eric and I do right now. And so I save 1 day for her. And the other is, generally trying to figure out what's next. I'm always, there's always something, as my mother says, what's next?
What does your granddaughter call you?
Granny.
Granny. I always have to know, Granny.
I'm a granny. My Granny Fanny was one of the instrumental person in my life, and so she's always called me from Granny from day one. I'm a granny.
Okay, well, please tell me you have something named for Granny Fanny. You need the Granny Fanny. Needs a cupcake, a cookie, something for Granny Fanny.
So the coconut cream pie is my Granny Fanny's, but I thought about calling it Fanny's Place, but I was worried about the clientele I would get.
Yeah, it could be a little misconstrued depending on what people are thinking,
Exactly. So I refrain from that, but she's always here. She's always in that coconut cream pie, and she's also in that carrot cake. That is from an old newspaper that came from her stuff. That my grandfather was a dynamite man. It could have been from anywhere in the U.S., and it's so old that it said haul your pecans. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't haul your pecans, but it still said haul your pecans.
Yeah, that's a real good first step toward putting pecans in something you're actually going to eat.
Yeah.
Where do you eat when you're not here?
That's rough. I mean, we've got there's places like my family. If we're having a family thing, we'll head to Branson, or I love Tallgrass and Harrison. I mean, I eat out a lot because I'm not home a lot, and so I tend to try to get all of my people that come here know I'm a foodie and know that I love to try new stuff. I just heard of a place in Springfield that does authentic Chinese food called Corner 21, and oh my gosh, I loved it. And I mean, kudos to them, because it's not Chinese as we would know. It's authentic stuff. It was beautiful. And so a lot of my places actually come from my other foodies that come in here and say, hey girl, you got to try this. And so I'll drive for good food. I will drive for something that's unique. Absolutely.
Is there any food you don't care for? Like, are you a seafood person?
Always. Yes.
Good,
Yeah. Blues Fish Market in Bentonville, great place. And he flies fish in all the time. I'm a shrimp and grits person from old school because of my granny. I mean, we had lots of grits growing up. We had lots of rice because of her being Cajun. And so, there's not a food that I can say that I'm not a fan of. If it's got a uniqueness to it, I love it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, check this out when you're in and around between a little bit south of the Missouri line, around Omaha, Arkansas. I see right out the window, I see people buzzing up and down. But you've got lots of nice tables in here. And you've got men, you've got women, you've got a kind staff, and a heck of a store. And it's lovely. So I can't thank you enough, Kelly. Is there anything else you want to add? You want to tell people? Here's your one shot to tell them why they need to get in here.
Well, I mean, it's about time you showed up, basically. Let's go. Let's get in here. So like I said, once I get you in here, I've got you, and then you'll become a friendly face and part of our family. And so we just want to see you.
Well, when my friends show up with the Lilliehobbs box, my mouth waters a little bit thinking, wonder what they brought today. So Lilliehobbs Mercantile and Bakery and Kelly Lindberg, I have so enjoyed talking to you. And, I'll come back again and we'll update this when you open your other properties. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we really appreciate that you're my first podcast.
Oh, very first. Well, I hope it was enjoyable.
It was easy breezy. I've got a face for radio, so we should be okay.
You are one beautiful lady, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Enjoy, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely, you will.
Thank you.
Be sure to go to AroundTheOzarks.com to sign up for our daily newsletter where you can get every episode of Savor the Ozarks, plus all our other podcasts, events, and contests straight to your inbox. And what are your favorite dishes in the 417? Do you have any restaurants you'd like me to visit? Email me at joy@AroundTheOzarks.com.